Welcome to OOOF My Wallet, a production of the TF Talk Network. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more. And follow us on Patreon and all other social channels at TFYLP. Enjoy the show. Hello, everyone out there. Do we exist? Can you hear us? I can't tell because I have it muted on YouTube. But after
it's delayed by probably 30 seconds or so for me. So I got it playing.
Everyone out there, oh yeah, it's working, guys. We are back in Biz Nasty. Woo! You know what that means? It's OOOF My Wallet time, but this is a special, super special episode. We want to talk about a very special release. We haven't done this in a while. I think the last time we did it was HasLab Unicron, where we did a special OOOF My World episode. Lucas, I think you were there for that. I know I was. But tonight we're going to talk about something else. Oh, actually, I should probably introduce you guys and myself. I'm Paul, but I'm here with some other fabulous gentlemen. To my right on the screen is Lucas. And you are very excited to talk about Skyfire, aren't you? You mean you don't have Masterpiece MP57 Skyfire? Do you have any MPs anymore? Okay. A couple. That's good. And to my left is someone else that's very important to the show. Our good friend Brewman. Oh, wait. I mean, his name is Mr. Rob.
Howdy.
Oh,
I haven't been talking.
It's just been me. Check. It does when I do it.
Yeah, I'm coming through.
Yeah, you guys are.
Yeah.
You guys are coming through. I'm not sure. Lucas
Isn't though.
Yeah, when you speak, it's not. The Skype bar is not coming through.
Yeah, I'm fine. And we obviously can hear you here, but you're not coming on stream.
Don't you just hate that? My goodness, what a great...
Now you're hardware muted.
Yeah, well,
you're muted.
That's because I muted him, but now I can't unmute him. I wanted to see if I could, flip it, you know?
Yeah.
There you go. I can hear you again. But Zaldron still says... I mean, as far as I can tell, it's the same as it was, but, Oh, thank you all for coming to watch this. Isn't this the best?
The toy's a masterpiece, but our ability to stream is not.
Yeah, it's bizarre. When Lucas talks, there's no sound coming through the audio bar on Skype.
Is it because he disconnected and reconnected?
Maybe. I leave nothing off the table for the reasons. Well, I mean... Do we really want to hear what he has to say tonight? I do. I do.
I mean, I do. I mean, that's why he's here.
I'm just kidding. Say something again. I saw some volume that time, so I think you might be okay.
That's why he's here.
I'm just kidding. Say something again. I saw some volume there. I know. I can't even tell. Isn't Yeah, that's how live streams work. Well,
You're still not coming in, Lucas.
well, I don't know what to do because read the first read some Shakespeare and I'll tinker with some stuff to make sure I can hear you. Yeah, your audio's not coming through now. I swear to God, it was for a moment. If you want to leave and come back, maybe that'll do it.
What's it gonna do? Get worse?
Yeah. Oh, we finally got rid of him. Wow.
I can't believe we got chat to go along with that lie.
Yeah.
That was nice of them.
Yeah, they're so awesome. The thing that sucks is like every time I watch a show I'm not on and something like this happens, I'm like so mad. I'm like, you guys suck. What are you doing? And here we are. You know.
Yeah, Zoldron, we hear him just fine. It's just not coming on the stream.
Speaketh. I can hear you, but like I can't.
I don't know what software y'all use, so I don't have any idea. Like I know when OBS, when we have problems, like you have to click the thing over there or something, but I don't know how to do it in what y'all are using. It's usually how it is.
All right, I'm sorry, man. Well, we love you, Lucas. Thank you for spending some wonderful time with us, and everybody else was humored. But,
you can stay here if you want.
Yeah,
Talk to us or type in chat. Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. What a pain.
Yeah.
Only 10 minutes in and already a disappointment. I love it. Anyways, now there's more space. We can show more of our toy. Because what we're here tonight to talk about is a Masterpiece release some of us thought would never come. A figure that, you know, was claimed as the largest Masterpiece toy of all time. Which, I mean, the last one that was the largest was, I want to say it was Star Saber. Do you remember?
I'm looking. Like, Ultra Magnus was pretty tall.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, I'm probably Ultra Magnus, Star Saber, or this. I don't have a measuring tape.
Well, I seem to recall Star Saber being touted as like one of the selling points.
Oh, got it.
The largest Masterpiece toy. Well, it's been dethroned by this one, and if you've been lucky enough to get a hold of this figure, which is now out in Japan and North America at this point, so it's pretty much it's a worldwide release at this point. It's not going to be no one should be waiting unless maybe you're in Bolivia, and you got to just wait the transfer time of getting it from North America, but it's here. And he is big. I don't know how you have yours situated, but mine is
about like that. Yeah,
has been in robot mode since I transformed it.
Yeah, I transformed once over this weekend. Jotted down some thoughts as I went through it. And yeah, I've had him sitting on the desk waiting for the show.
I mean, I got this guy from Japan, and I should have had him about 3 weeks earlier than I got him, but literally the box was seized by customs. First time ever in like 20 years of buying toys from all over the place. It was Kentucky border U.S. Customs. And you know what? If this ever happens to you, FedEx just said like it was supposed to be delivered and then it never was, and for 2 weeks it just kept saying like customs processing and like tick 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 tick. The things went up. I I had no idea what was going on, no one to call. I mean, most people don't deal with this. I'm just telling you it sucked. But at least I got my stuff finally. And maybe they just thought, like, you know, he's a beautiful white. He's got paint all over him. Maybe they just thought he was coated in something nefarious. But
I suspect it's just they had a backlog of stuff to process. Because, like, I don't know, when does Chinese New Year end? Like into January, isn't it? And
yeah,
so
something like that.
I wonder if there was a glut of stuff coming in, you know, now that they're, you know, they've been back or whatever. But I don't know. It's happened to me before with just some random thing I bought, like sat in California for like a week before it got through customs. And normally it doesn't. Normally it's just in and out. You know, it's not a problem. But it has happened to me once before.
They actually opened the box too. Like they cut.
Oh wow!
The figure.
Inspected.
Yeah, I was pretty pissed off, but you know, like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not the point of the show. The point of the show is to talk about Skyfire here. What's also notable, and maybe not that notable, but like for the last, I guess because of the last few years, you know, this guy has like a sordid past in the history of Transformers. This is how he looked in the cartoon. In the cartoon, he was named Skyfire, but there's always like this flip-flop. Is he Jetfire or Skyfire? And just to set the record straight, he was always supposed to be Jetfire, but then for legal reasons with Harmony Gold and like the Robotech thing and Macross, they had to change his appearance in the fiction so it did not match the Veritech or the Valkyrie transforming plane. So then they decided to give him a new name even, and they called him Skyfire. And I actually think the brand and the character were improved, like are better for that having happened. Like sure, the Jetfire G1 toy was a cool toy. It was very confusing if you knew both brands. It was like, what's going on here? But like, because that's the kind of like weird unicorn we've been chasing for 30 years. It's like, well, we were shown Skyfire, but we got Jetfire, so
yeah,
when are we going to get the right one?
Yeah, it's one of those, like, in retrospect, Jetfire has no place in anything. He's just a one-off toy that showed up. He doesn't look like him. Names are different. And given how litigious Harmony Gold is, I don't even know how Hasbro produced the toy. I don't know why they even loaned the mold out and then be that picky about it all. Like, you know, what was the point? You know, kind of like end of the day, it's just odd. Well, it doesn't fit.
I mean, I'm no expert, but the way I understand it is that, you know, Hasbro bought the toy from Bandai or whatever before, like, you know, it's like the Harmony Gold bought the fiction, but then before Hasbro was able to, you know, Hasbro got the toy before they were able to secure it, and then it was like, you know, did they even have fax machines back then to like communicate across the ocean? You know, like there's probably over the course of like many months these deals were done. And by the time everyone realized they messed up, it was too late. And you know, Hasbro was like, "Well, we own this toy. You own the fictional. Like, you own the visage of it in the show, and we will, you know, just as a nice thing, we'll just redo all this stuff because we have time to do it." But like I said,
I thought the Classics was really the first time we saw an actual Skyfire. I don't remember what the toy was called. But you know, that was the first time. It's like, oh, he's actually based off more of his show. You know, Classics was a reimagining, but it was obviously off the show, not the toy, which was nice.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that toy. That was like such an amazing...
That was awesome at the time.
That was super cool. And I think they called him Skyfire in Japan, but Jetfire in America. And so like there's just always been a little bit of, you know...
Just to keep it going.
Yeah, just to keep it rumble frenzying around in our heads. But this is...
Pure Skyfire.
As amazing as it gets. I mean, this is the thing you've always wanted. I mean, that I've always wanted, let's say.
Do you have the, I don't remember which, the recent generations leader, you know? Oh. You have it on hand?
You mean this?
Yeah, that guy.
Siege Jetfire, as you can see.
Wrong name, but the right design.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked that they made this after they released this. That they made the Masterpiece so soon after they made this incredible, you know, very large. I know people love that toy. It's very good. I mean, at the time it came out, which is not long ago. This is not like ancient history by any means. just the reissue this is a reissue that landed on my lap just today, which is funny. But this was like good enough. I really wish I had one open to compare here, but I'm not going to open this.
I mean, I don't think it was good enough for a Masterpiece collection. You know, I mean, it's just not. You know, people like what they like, and that's fine. But the aesthetics are not there. You know, it's a different look. It fits in great with Siege, and everybody said it was a great toy. You know, but you know what? Masterpiece collectors, we've had Fans Toys Phoenix in that spot for years, which is a great toy as well, but it's obviously not Sunbow Skyfire. You know, he's a little bit more heroic proportioned and all that. I mean, I don't know. It's a great toy. It's one of the better toys that Fans Toys did, because, you know, a lot of people, Fans Toys is so all over the map when it comes to their transformations. Some of them are nightmares, and some of them are super great and like easy. That's one of like the easy, pretty straightforward, you know, nice big movements. You know, not lots of little fiddly stuff. That was one of definitely their highlights on those transformations. So it's a great toy, but if what you want is something that looks like it came from the cartoon, this outclasses it. You know, in pretty much every way. They're both great toys though, but yeah, this is the bomb. He's super great.
Wow, so you are really into it. I wasn't sure if you were going to be like, well, this Fans Toys is this and this one's that. I don't know. It's a toss-up.
No. They're side by side. Like, it's, if what you like is cartoon, this is what you're going to get. And like, I have some minor nitpicks about this, but like, yeah, it's a great toy. You know, which we can get into whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I mean, I did want to talk about the third-party stuff at some point. I don't know if getting into it right now is right. I don't have Phoenix. I did consider getting it at one point, but then around the time that I finally got a hold of one, like, I had this, and I was like, you know what? I prefer this, the Siege toy, because it was like 1.5 pounds lighter than the other one, than the Phoenix toy. And although it wasn't, you know, it's not G1 Skyfire, it is the Siege toy, and it looks like the spitting image of the thing off the screen. I just thought, like, this is one of the greatest Transformers that Hasbro's ever made. That Siege figure, just because it's huge, it has both modes, it has some gimmicks that you've never seen before, and it's like, it was the closest thing to this, you know, that we had ever gotten. And when I even and I know they're not really comparable, but just like because the price was so much lower, and again, when I picked up my Siege Jetfire and picked up the Fans Toys, I was like, oh my god! Like, usually that's a good thing. Oh, this is hefty. Yeah, I like it. But I was just like, no, this is stupid heavy. This is like gonna fall and hurt somebody, and this thing is a toy. It's great. Well, if you ever had them both in hand, it's like night and day. It's crazy.
Oh no, I know that the Fans Toys one is a nice chunk, but I mean it's stood right there on my shelf for years without an issue. You know, it's solidly made. It's not going to fall over.
Yeah. I had them both in jet mode, and like, you know, it's like, oh god, I'd rather not. My wrist hurts from this thing. You know, it's a dumb thing to care about, but since I had them both at that moment, it was
for
so
people
noticeable.
that just like, they're like, I want a big cool Jetfire that looks, you know, kind of like G1 and is a fun toy. Yeah, they got lots of options. Yeah, you can go wherever you want. And like, I don't know what the aftermarket is on Siege Jetfire, but like Fans Toys Phoenix has had a couple of different versions, like minor variations on it have been released, and he's been reissued several times. So like, his aftermarket is still like $250, you know, for a basic version of it, you know, which is about what this costs, I think, something like that, if you get it retail. So like, you know, it's awesome when you have options, because people like to argue, I want it grown up G1 up. They're like, I want it exactly like the cartoon, and, you know, bickering where it's like, just fucking buy which one you want, man.
Yeah.
Both there. And like, totally. Masterpiece is too over. Fucking buy Siege. Like, everyone's winning here, man.
Yeah. Well, and right now, you know, if this just got reissued like moments ago. Oh. So if you didn't get this, you can get it again for.
That's weird.
I would imagine.
Why would they reissue it now?
Well, this just happens to be when it finally gets, you know, out to the public. It's been like up for wholesale order for like a year. You know, like they did it
Okay.
to Omega Supreme too. So,
Huh.
and it's well overdue because that toy was fetching like $200 some, like about the same as about the same as this, which is ridiculous. So, just saying, you do have your options. So, was there anything more to be said about the fans toys thing compared to this in your mind?
No, I mean, like, this one has, more accessories. Fans Toys is notoriously light on accessories, like, compared to car releases and compared to X-Transbots releases, where they both just, like, every accessory we can think of, every dumb little thing, Fans Toys has always, like, been real skimpy on that. Sometimes they're changing it up now because I think they're feeling that pressure. But then a lot of people are like, oh, you got all this extra junk, I don't want it, blah, blah, blah. Which always kind of kills me when people are like, why does it have all these faces? I don't need 7 faces. I'm just going to put one on it. It's like, you got to pick which one you put on it. That's the point. You got to pick the face that you liked and put it on it. It's not, oh, I got all these 6 I didn't want. It's like, well, you would have gotten one, and it may not have been the one you liked the best. That's the point of it. It's not that you got extra faces in a bag in a box in the garage. Just whoosh. But yeah, it's that's really the main difference. Like, this one even comes with a stand. I haven't messed with it because I'm not crazy enough to put stuff in plane mode, and also I don't know if it'd fit in my billy anyways. But no, I mean, it's a solid release. It's old, everyone knows it. But like, I debated keeping it, and then I kind of just next week I was like, oh man, this is the cartoon here, and I just was like, and I looked on eBay. I was like, oh, it's still retained its value a bit. It's worth selling. If it was one of those that had cratered in price, I wouldn't have bothered. But yeah, it's around $250-ish. Like, yeah, it's worth selling.
Yeah. I gotta say, I haven't heard many people talk about this, but when I saw some photos of them next to each other, sure, those proportions are slightly different, but the real difference to me is the lack of screw holes on this thing. Like, it's an aesthetic decision. Like, and I remember looking at the Fans Toys one, and there's like, I mean, there are screw holes. Like, if you turn it in the back,
definitely on the, and then inside of the legs.
Yeah,
there's a couple,
but they're hidden, and so the profile is like really unbroken. It's quite nice. Like, sure, there's some, there's some seams and stuff, but that's part of what helps it look so.
I'm bringing up the images of it now. Oh yeah. Yeah,
not everyone cares or notices that, but I did, and I just thought
it's not a deal breaker. It's nice to have, though, in my opinion. It's like, it's not going to be a reason I do or don't buy a toy.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, that's cool. I think the screw holes are a little less noticeable on Fans Toys, just because, I mean, it's not like a super detailed toy. It's not like Siege Jetfire, but it does have like little gray accents and a little bit more color breakup because it's not a 1-to-1 to the screen, which I think helps kind of hide that there's more screw holes going on.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, like, them hiding the screw holes really does help give this that cartoon look of just kind of, most people take this as a negative, but kind of like plain, flat, featureless design, which I love the chunky, blocky, smooth design. I've really gotten to enjoy it, but
well, it's an aesthetic and engineering decision and a challenge to do that. And,
definitely.
I just wanted to bring it up because I think it kind of goes unnoticed a lot, and that was something I did notice. And it's not like Fans Toys has tons of them. It's just like in the arms, there's a lot of visible ones compared to...
Like, there's a big one right there on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Really distracting, to be honest. That one is.
So
yeah, I think that's about it for Fans Toys. I mean, people know what they're going to like.
Yeah.
When you saw this and you said, oh, he looks derpy and dumb, then why would you buy it? If you're like, oh, there it is, then you're going to buy it,
Well, if those other figures hadn't existed for the past few years, I think there would be like an incredible amount of fanfare around this figure. Which, does it feel to you like this sort of just came out and no one knew it or cared, or there's just not a lot of? That's why kind of what I want to have this episode, because I was like, this figure is amazing, and we don't do this very often, and it was a good excuse. So.
Well, you know me, I'm happy anytime to come in and talk about the latest Masterpiece releases. I did want to mention Trailbreaker, but I figure we'll do that later, like just a short little bit about him. But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't have like the pulse on the community. It's really just our kind of like our group of people, of which very few of us collect masterpieces. Me, you, Peter, like Nick and Nick buys it just because it's official, and then Rick buys everything. You know, like there's not a lot on it. So really on that, it's just what a YouTuber say about it, and it's kind of it's cool to shit on Takara and be like, all third party's always better. And I'm like, man, I love them both. Like, I don't know why it has to be a us versus them type of thing. You know, whoever has the better fit figure, I'll buy it. That's really all it is for me. But yeah, and also I kind of feel like the typical third party reviewers, not a lot of them have it yet, or they haven't put up their videos yet. So I think they're coming. And I think, you know, that's really where, if there's buzz, that's where I notice it. It's like all the reviewers are like, and this is really solid. Then people are like, oh, cool, maybe I'll think about it, you know, and that kind of, there's a lot of influence there.
Well, I think you're right. And the problem is that, I mean, all the smart people in the world know how to get Masterpiece toys now. What do you do? Where do you go?
You don't order it from Big Bad. You get it from Amazon Japan first, if you can.
Yeah, that's what you do. But what wasn't available on Amazon Japan?
This
motherfucker. Because he was a strangely in the most weird ass thing ever. Takara Tomi's like, oh, we're gonna make this a Takara Tomy mall exclusive.
Oh, it's a mall exclusive?
Yeah, we're gonna make this the biggest, most expensive, maybe Masterpiece.
Well, not most
toy.
expensive, but
yeah, but the biggest one ever. Oh, we're gonna put some You're gonna make some hoops for everyone to go through. Now, that being said, all that meant was that you can't. We as I said, as Americans, Westerners weren't able to, like, you know, play our trump card, which is like buying it off Amazon Japan and getting it shipped for ridiculously cheap and getting it for almost the wholesale price and getting it delivered like overnight from Japan, which is insane. And that's how you get Masterpiece toys. If you didn't know that, we keep telling you, but somehow you don't know.
Like, I haven't bought off there for a while. I get mine elsewhere these days. But I think the last time it was one of the Seekers, and like the price actually ended up being the same. It was like they didn't have the deal on it, and then I've changed where I'm buying stuff anyways, and so I haven't kept up with it too much since then. And I don't know if that was a one-off or what.
Amazon Japan is tricky because like it goes up for sale, and it's usually like sort of a discounted yen price, and then you always got to pay like. It's almost like $20 to get it shipped from there, but it's still stupid cheap, you know. And the price almost always goes down from like the initial order, and they honor the lowest price it ever is until the shipment. So like whatever it is at the start, I was like, well, I'm paying less than that. Slam, you know, like whatever.
Yeah.
So but generally, you know, all this stuff still comes out on Pulse because the worldwide deal is basically like Hasbro Pulse is the outlet for Masterpiece toys, but created by Hasbro in Japan. And that's why there's not ever very many. Like, it always sells out close to release time. Plus, they get released in America about 2-3 months after they are released in Japan because they got to go through that black sleeve process.
Yeah.
Which is weird, but I think that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So, it does sometimes turn out that like Hasbro Pulse's price and the Japanese price is like almost one for one the same. So if you don't want to pay that, you know, the import price, get it like a few months early, which I mean I think is worth the $20 if you know, some people do, some people don't. And you're also not really paying tax in Japan. So like by the time you buy it in Hasbro Pulse, you get it months later. It's probably going to cost actually more than Japan because you're going to pay tax and the shipping, yada, yada, yada. But anyways, that's just a little thrifty talk from your man, Paul and Rob. But this one, you couldn't do that, was the whole point of bringing that up. It was a Takara Tomy Mall exclusive, and that is probably why the reviewers don't have it. It's because they didn't know how to get it, other than paying, you know, like the Chosen Prime, because they tend to import stuff to get them that few months earlier. But now it is out in the United States. The big ass box has been put in a big ass sleeve, and it's starting to ship to people now.
Yeah, I was the day this arrived on my doorstep, I was actually at the comic store. It was Saturday, and Friday or Saturday, and he had just actually gotten in his. I don't know if he got them in that day, but it was very recently. Like I think it was that day he'd gotten in his shipment of them. So it was like Like, yeah, it's hitting everywhere.
And didn't you say he takes him out of that particular store takes him out of the
The way I knew is because I saw the sleeves crumpled up in the trash.
Oh yeah. I mean,
and
it's hard
the sleeves
to sell.
are dumb. They're
Are
stupid. Dumb. Yeah. And we've speculated beforehand that it's some weird thing because it has no product images and doesn't even say the product name. Like it's intentionally bad. Like it is made to be worse. So
well, like you
weird.
said, if you're hoping to treat it like an eye candy product, you have to remove it from the sleeve because no one knows what it is. No one knows what MP57 is. They know what Skyfire is. If they walk down the street, doop-de-doop-de-doo, I'm just regular Wednesday, had a taco, don't know what to do. Whoa! If they see Skyfire on the shelf, they might flip out. But if they see a big black box that says MP57, doesn't even say the word Skyfire on it. It says Cybertron Aviation Commander or something. They're like, that's too many dots to connect.
We know what's out. We know what's coming out. And that's one thing I often check myself on. It's like plenty of the fandom has no idea the level of detail I know. And there's plenty I don't know. I don't keep up with modern Hasbro releases worth of shit anymore. But stuff like this, I know it's coming out. Third party, I know what's coming out. But there are still plenty of people that they drop money on toys, but they don't keep up with it on the internet. They go to their comic shops and they see what's there. Or they just they go to various toy stores and are just around here and there, or they go to a toy show, and that's where they find out a lot of stuff. They're not. And if they say oh, that's cool, and it gets them, they're like, oh, it's $250. They're like, oh, hell yeah, that looks so awesome. That's how they find out, and it's surprising, but it's also really common. The only other option is you got your stack of boxes that are all black, but you've opened one of them and put the toy out in front of it. So now you've just opened product. Right. Which is even worse than throwing away a sleeve that people don't even know is there, and you're like, "Oh no, it's the Takara release." Because guess what? It is the Takara release. Just put a stupid sleeve on it. Yeah. So you're not really losing anything.
It is a separate run though. And you know that because this is, I'm the only dude in the world that cares about this. Okay, I'm not saying anyone should, but there is a date stamp on the box. So here's the box for Skyfire. Every toy ever has a date stamp on it somewhere. Here's the one for Jetfire. See this that K2522? Do you see it?
I believe you that it's there.
It's that brown.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, I see it. Yeah. The
stamp.
Is
the date stamp. Okay. Yours that was in the black sleeve does not have that on it. It'll be blank because your date stamp is on the black thing that was around it.
Interesting.
And it's a different date stamp because it was produced and put together at a different moment than those. And so,
but no one cares, yeah.
No one really cares about that stuff until someday down the road someone finds oh, this piece is different on the thing. Like it's literally a manufacturing, not defect.
Either defect or a production run. They improved something or changed something minor.
Yeah, something like.
Who knows?
Something that's the only way to tell which version of MP9 you have, with the broken knees or not, of Rodimus Prime, is by the date stamp on the Japanese box. So if that had come out in the current climate, who knows which one the American version is.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is super hardcore nerdy stuff, but I just I always try to share this information so it doesn't die with me when I'm gone. Anyways. We were talking about the accessories, so I thought maybe we should move on to that, because this guy is full of them, and I know we haven't really talked about the figure itself, but...
2 seconds.
Okay.
2 seconds.
I'm just going to keep talking, though, because if anyone watched our MP44 episode from a long time ago, when we were just so jazzed about MP44, we had to do an emergency episode about it, we spent the first hour talking about the trailer.
It is so cool. I could still talk about it, but so yeah. Do we want to get into accessories, or did you say you want to get into the figure?
I think we should get into the accessories and sort of the doohickeys and the knickknacks that are on this figure in the
There's
vein
a lot.
in the vein of talking about the trailer. Not only are you buying this, most people are buying it for a sweet ass,
of course,
giant figure that looks exactly how you'd ever want it to look, and we'll get into the. I think we'll get into the figure like near the end, you know. But this thing comes with. Well, I'll just tell you. First off, the first ever Masterpiece Jazz.
Right.
Yeah, boy. I love these little mini figures that come with it. You know, they treat Skyfire like he's a playset. It's super awesome. I wish they'd just make a ton of these.
What's interesting is look at Jazz. What's up with his hands? He's like this. like he's scooping ice cream out manually or something, you know? I don't know what he's doing.
He's swimming.
Yeah.
Maybe he's supposed
impresses
to
me
hang off the edge, like, whoa.
I suspect he's supposed to sit in like the cockpit or something, and that's him resting on the armrest is what I really think it probably is. But when I first saw it, I was just like, what? He doesn't have an Autobot symbol, so it's probably a knockoff. It must be third party. The three of these, they're all third party, man.
Third party.
There's no
trash.
symbols. Yeah. I want to grab the ones that came with X-Transbot's Percept real quick. I want to see how they scale together.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the coloring on these is a little. I mean these are actually kind of impressive little toys. Like they're not simple. Like they have a lot of. Well, they have way more articulation than they should. As you can see, they even have like a wing swivel.
So there's Jazz next to Bumblebee. I got their feet at the same spot.
And that's X-Transbots?
Yeah. Their Perceptor that came out. Because like there's an episode of Perceptor where they get all shrunk down.
That's a really good one.
You know, and here's Perceptor next to the Prime.
That's pretty cool.
You know, the Prime is pretty large in here, which I think, you know, is accurate to the scale chart. But lots of times in our mind's eye, that's not how they scale to one another. Yeah. Now, they're nice, fun little figures. And just like the X-Transbots ones, like, honestly, they're well painted. There's a lot of surprising detail on them. You know, they have elbows and knees and hips and shoulders, which is cool. For, you know, small figures, you know, you don't need a lot, but it's cool to get what you get.
Yeah, I feel like they went above and beyond with these.
Yeah. But, like, it does make you wonder, did they see that X-Transbots did, and then they put them in? Or did they just both arrive at the same idea? You know?
I mean, that's typically my thought on it, is like, what is the most logical, like, what's your end point when you're trying to be in a creative meeting? If you have two different dudes in a creative meeting trying to make the same toy, like, what are they? Yeah. They're going to come up with a lot of the same solutions. It just is natural. Unless they're specifically being like, we're not going to be like this. We're going to try something else, go off the wall, and do like a crazy transformation like MP52, you know, like just because it's unique.
And so not only do we have the little figures, there's tons of little places for them to hide, like you were talking about. So, like, one leg goes down here. You can shove somebody in there. It also looks kind of like missile pods or something. And then, see, the other leg is, and all of them are a bit different. So this one makes a ramp and has, like, a different place for him to sit in. And then there's up here, this opens up, and that's the one that Prime will fit in. He won't fit into the others.
Yeah.
He's too much of a thick boy. Yeah, he'll go in there. And I actually had to take them out. That's where I'm storing them. So it's nice that you can store them with the figure if you don't want them standing around. And then, of course, you can put somebody in the cockpit. I found Wheeljack fit in there good. I think I couldn't get Jazz to fit in there because of his feet are too wide. And I couldn't even find that. So that's where I put Wheeljack. So they have a bunch of just a little different hidey holes. And then there's a ramp as well when he's in plane mode, isn't there? And that's a different ramp. It comes out from underneath his, I don't know what the word is for the front of the plane or middle of the plane or something. I don't know. But yeah. So more like you can't, like, I don't think there's a place to really put them, but, you know, it's just more for display purposes and being a big man child.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting a hold of you beforehand and being like, yo, is yours in robot or jet mode? And, like, trying to do the opposite. But I was like, you know what? I don't want to change mine. I bet he doesn't want to change his, so.
I mean, I am going to transform it again. I just haven't yet. You know, and, you know, was doing some other stuff. No, the minifigures are really cool. They're really silly, but I don't know. I like silly things. And see, like, other than that, obviously we got his big gun, and you may have seen when I was holding it up here. I don't know, is this from the show at all? But you can store it up here, and he has a shoulder-ish mounted gun.
Yeah, I caught that in the instructions too, and for a while I had mine up there like that because I was just like, "Oh, this is cool. What's going on here?" But I think what I determined, and I don't know if this is for sure, but that's more of like a Robotech thing or a Macross thing.
Huh?
Because they have the jets, the pylons that go on the back of the jets, like they have various different configurations. Sometimes they have like a 2-barrel blaster there that can like flip over. It's kind of rare to see that, but that's my canon assumption there is that they're trying to give options to like harken back to the roots of the toy.
It's like G1 Jetfire doesn't do that.
Correct.
So yeah, I was just like, I don't know where this is from, and it was one of those I found the little cubby hole to put Prime in, right, on one of his jetpack halves. But the other one doesn't do that because it's got this flip out thing. I was just like, what is this rectangle? I started pushing it because I'm just exploring the toy. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I had no idea until like at the end, after I transformed it. I kind of just skimmed the instructions to see what I missed or whatever. And I was like, oh, huh. Yeah. Don't know what inspired them to do that. It's neat.
I think it's kind of part of the... They've also highlighted the Gerwalk mode, which is
that is true.
A
Yeah, so if it's a
thing.
Macross thing, then it would make sense they might have looked for other things to bring from Macross.
Yeah. I mean, even on the back of the box, they show
it. They show it.
They show it with the Macross visor on. I don't know if you can see it. I'm sorry.
You got the visor now. Yeah, they got the visor when he has the shoulder-mounted cannon.
Yeah.
That's the picture. So of course.
So I kind of took mine apart here. If you want to talk about any of this stuff, this is the other extras.
I didn't even realize that was storage, man.
Yeah, it's because you don't read the goddamn instructions.
I skipped them later. So yeah, as you notice there's a white piece and a Decepticon piece, and so that's the front of his chest here, and it's real easy to take off. It just slides on, which doesn't mean like when you're transforming it, you probably just want to take it out because otherwise, it may slip off here and there. Like it's not like it doesn't like kind of, it kind of frictions on when you put it in. It's like not like I'm turning upside down and it's falling off or anything. But when I was manipulating it, like you can unsnap it pretty easily. It's just easier to put it out. And then of course his extra faces are there as well.
No, the white one is the Robotech face.
You're muted, Paul.
The white one is the Robotech face. In the middle there.
It's hard to see that there's a blue visor on top of it, but there is.
Because this whole piece is clear plastic that is clear blue plastic that is painted.
Yeah. And then he has a little gimmick here. His head pops open.
Oh yeah.
I assume that's that thing from that episode. I haven't watched G1 in a bit.
Yeah, it's when I rewatched that episode. It's one of those ones I had on VHS, so I felt like I knew it really well. But I watched it and was like, oh yeah, I forgot about all this.
Oh yeah.
But they find him in the Arctic, and Starscream knows him, and Starscream's like acting all. He's like kind of forcing everybody to wake him up, and then he gives this kind of this monologue about his old buddy Skyfire that when he was a scientist on Cybertron, which I'm like, well, that's so ridiculous. And also Starscream turns into a F-16 while he's on Cybertron, which is a mistake, obviously. But they show the memories that they're like tapping into Skyfire's memories, and so they like zoom in on that little circuit in his head and like shows the stuff.
Man, the G1 cartoon was dumb. It was so
I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I still, I know it's silly, but it's good enough.
The thought of Starscream being a scientist just does not gel, and like anytime I try to like make it gel in my headcanon, it's like I know it's official, but I can't make sense of it. It just doesn't work for me at all.
Well,
he's a schemer.
In comics, and like you know, weird lore like this, everyone is super smart, right? They're all like extremely smart all the time, so everyone can be a scientist.
Yeah. So other than that, he has his stand, which I don't have the rest of the accessories on me. They're out in the box. Did you play with it any? Like, did you hook him up to it and all that?
I did, because as you can see, there's this big contraption here. This is I did it before when he was in jet mode, and like, I mean, it works one way and one way only. When he is straight up, and it is precarious because he's a big boy and that jet is heavy, and this fits right in the center. Like, but there is no like tilting of the angle.
The friction won't hold it.
It's just too monstrous. So you need. Well, I mean, this is ridiculous. Look how small this thing is. It needs a stand that's like got a clamp like this to really like let you mess with it.
Yeah, I mean,
but it works. It works. But it's just like it's straight along, and it's way bigger than this stand. You know.
Well, that's the same stand we got with, like, I don't know. We've had like what, probably 3 or 4 times, I think, at this point. So I think they just whatever figure they originally made that for, it worked well. And since then, they've just been adapting it to fit whatever toy comes out, whether or not it makes sense. Like, to me, what that really needed then to hold the weight is like a bigger clamp would be good, but also like just whatever that pivot is needs to be reworked to be able to hold the weight. You know, ratchets or tensions or even just notches that you set it to where you want it or something, right? But whatever. I'm not going to use it anyway. I don't use any of them, so I'm not super upset about it.
Ultimately, I'm glad they didn't do everything you suggested, because that would have made this was a cost-saving mechanism by using this thing again.
Look, it's there.
Instead of making it like at this point, this thing's been run so many times, it's probably like $3 to put to build it.
Yeah.
Whereas if they designed a whole new one, then they're talking who knows.
Yeah.
But it works. You can iron
technically
some clothes with it.
And then he has his I don't know if you want to call them really blast effects, but yeah. I know they look really good in jet mode coming out of his I don't know, propellers or whatever you call it.
Yeah, I'm just storing them. I mean, I do the same thing with the Siege Jetfire. Like, I just store them instead of. They're almost. You can't put both on his blaster because they're too bulbous.
Too bulbous. Yeah. That always pisses me off. Like, I get it if the main design is like, we want to look cool in jet mode and they don't want to gimp it for the gun, but man, that always bugs me when they both won't fit and they just knock each other out of the way. But whatever.
Yeah, they could have. I mean, they could have put a third one in that was just like thinner. True. Like, I think they did that with the Seekers, where like one looks like it's like just shooting out, and the other one is like longer. I don't know. They could have done something a little cleverer, but I think the point they really wanted to drive home was like put these in the afterburners and make it look like he's flying.
Yeah. I think that's it for his gimmicks and accessories, isn't it? I think that's it.
Well, he's got landing gear, obviously. So you don't need the stand. The stand is just for if you want him to be floating like a jet, I suppose. How about any masterpiece moments you'd like to report during the transformation? Because he does come boxed in jet mode. Because I have probably 2, but I want to see. I want you to call them first.
I feel like there was a thing or two I saw when I got through it. I was like, oh, that's really clever, but I don't remember what they are. I will say that what I feel about it now as like masterpiece moments is features about it when it's in robot mode that are just really nice and well done. But that's more like around articulation and stuff like that. As far as the transformation, I remember mostly enjoying it. That's where a couple of my nitpicks will come in. But what was yours? What blew you away?
I mean, I don't know if I was. This is the masterpiece moment for me. It was definitely like the wings crunching down into the backpack. it's kind of this weird accordion thing. And I didn't really know what was happening, and it was
you don't realize that's what's going to happen.
There was some. I think there might have been some fear because I was just like, "What?"
Yeah, it's out like this, and then you fold it in, and then it kind of goes in an extra step. Whereas like beforehand, it's like almost upside down at one point in the transformation. It was like I can't remember what I was doing for that. But it's like I thought it stopped there, and it's like no, it goes all the way in.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
and I think I did them both at the same time for some reason, like, and so that it like was even more impressive. It was like they both like locked in. I was like, whoa, whoa! There was a scary ass moment too. I could some part in the middle, like getting his torso put together. I was like, what is happening? I'm breaking this thing, and I think I might have actually been doing it wrong, but you know, and I follow the instructions. Like I'm not Wild West, especially with these guys like you. I don't want to mess this stuff up.
That's one of my complaints is in the middle here, like where all this has to come over his head and around, and there's like 2 or 3 parts in there, and some of them slide and some of them pivot, and like I would put in there, it's like I think this is what it's supposed to be, but it doesn't want to go a little more, and so I'd mess with it a little more, and I'd end up getting back there, and it'd go a little further. Is this really wrong? And I'd be like, no, I'd mess with it more, but I always just kept coming back to that, and that is what I was supposed to do. I was on the right path the whole time, and I was just like, I don't want to break this. I double check like that spot of the instructions. And then it's like, they just go bloop, bloop, bloop. It's like, okay, that's what you're supposed to do. It's like, frick! There it went. But that was on my list of parts I did not like. Like, now that I know that it's what's supposed to do, like, it's a fine transformation step or whatever. It's just, you have to push harder than you should to get it in there. And, like, again, you can't sit here, but there's, like, panels. Like, you don't have to fold them up, but they kind of fold up. And, like, there's notches made specifically for them to sit in. And so that's why I kept, like, that must be what it is. There's a spot for it. You know, it's like this little rounded out area. It's like, that's obviously, this is supposed to rest in there. But you do have to push it harder than I think you should. You know, it's an uncomfortable amount of pressure. I don't think you're going to break it or anything of that nature, but it's just like, oh, and then it's like crunch, you know, like into place type of thing. It's like, okay, I'm good now.
Yeah, I think, like, I'm kind of surprised Takara lets those moments happen, but I think you just have to at some point to be like, well, we know it works, so
I guess.
Like, it's supposed to do this, but yeah, let it go.
Like,
I didn't like the backpack, putting that together much.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. Like, at first, I was impressed, like, looking at, like, because they condense it from the sides and they condense it in length.
Right. And
that is cool. Like, it's a cool effect. But goddamn, it is very particular the order you have to do things. Like, so like pieces slide down here, the pieces on the side slide down, and the final piece is plugging this in. And again, the instructions just say, like, it's like, okay, push this part up, then push them together, and that's all it says. You have to kind of push a bit to get them in place, to get this to snap together. And I no longer remember exactly what it was, but it's a very specific order of events because like the propellers even go up more, or the afterburners. Like the whole thing's on the side slides up, the afterburners slide up, and this bit on the side here slides up. You have to do those, and again, it squishes in from the side. If you do not do them in the correct order, plastic is blocking plastic, and you won't be able to get it to snap together. And I spent a lot of time looking at it and like taking my light, because as part of the, I mean, I enjoy figuring out why it's working. So when something is like obviously not going, I don't just smash it or say, oh, I can't get it. I take out my flashlight, you know, and like I'm looking and trying to figure out, you know, just from an engineering point of view, it's like, what is actually happening in here? And that's what it is. It's pieces of the plastics like in this corner here and this corner here hitting each other. And that's why it won't go if you do it even remotely out of the wrong order. And even then, you still got to kind of push to get it on, and then to get this piece to snap on, which this is what really keeps it in place. Like if I pop that off, and it's happy to come off. Like it doesn't come off easily, but there's so much pressure to keep it there. It's like, please let me out. Like when I pop them off, you can tell they kind of relieve. They're like, oh.
I sacrificed my perfect backpack to show you guys that storage, and now I have a fun time ahead of me.
That's funny too.
How it works.
Yeah, like you kind of like nope, get in there, and then once it's there, it's happy. So the end result is really nice.
Yeah, but
it is a little too particular in the order you need to go in there for that part to be particularly enjoyable. It's literally like 4 movements of big pieces. It's just so particular, and yeah, the way some stuff in here slides, it's real easy for them to hit plastic, and then it won't go. So,
yeah, but you're right. Once it does get together, it's satisfying, and like I think I remember during the process, and we're talking like a 5-minute process for me, but I was like, I know this is going to be worth it. Just chill out, just get through it. But I was really like pleased when you're right when the it does shrink a lot. Like it's a lot of like panels sliding over panels, and when you compress it vertically, I was like, whoa, this is awesome. I had no idea it did that. I thought it was just a big hunk, and so sure it was frustrating for sure, but it was kind of a unique masterpiece moment for me when it finally came together.
The end effect is cool. It's not fiddly. And in general, like everything that you're supposed to do to transform this guy back and forth was intuitive. It's just too much force to put the chest where you're pretty sure it should go and what it should do. It's a little bit too much force, at least the first time. And then the backpack, the order that you slide things is just a little bit too specific. I like it when the transformations are a little more forgiving, where it's not. It's like, okay, this piece needs to flop over to here. Any way you get it over there should be fine. Not, first you have to do this, then this, then this, then you can swap it. Like whenever they get really specific like that, I find that it takes away from the enjoyment for me. And that's the way the backpack is a little here.
Yeah. What do you think about like the shoulders and the arms? Because I thought that was kind of unique too. Like there's a lot of accordion paneling there. And as you can see, mine is there's sort of like butterfly joints.
They're 100% butterfly joints.
They're sort of cheaty because like as you can see, his it all like this piece. There's a gap there now because that's where the hinge is.
I'm used to that in butterfly joints. I expect just because things aren't really made of flesh and muscle that expands and contracts, that when I get a butterfly joint, I expect there to be a gap somewhere. It's nice if they can cover it up and it's sliding inside something, but I don't even know if anybody does that. I don't know. But this was a step I missed because again, like once I'm done with it, I was like the upper chest. I was like, that doesn't look very good. I was like, I must be missing something. I didn't realize this extension piece was hiding in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which if you don't do it, it looks really dumb. And it also makes it's like when you slide this out, the arm will kind of plug into it, and I think on the back of the piece it slides out gives it something to really tap into. And I was like, it's kind of loose, and I was like, the side looks weird. And I was like, oh, I'm missing the slide out piece. It just wasn't obvious it was hiding in there. And that really brought it together at that point. But yeah, like I love fun articulation with it, and to get the big drawback is just like the Seekers, there is no waist swivel. I think Takara they've decided we like the solid front of the plane. That is, part of the look on them or whatever, and they're okay with sacrificing the waist swivel to get it. Everything else is here. Like you can see, like the elbows go all the way. He has the butterfly joint. It'll go up to whatever you need. It's tons of reach and movement there. Wrists and hands, or he can flip the bird, typical stuff, right?
The important stuff.
Yeah, and so like when I consider like some of the masterpiecey moments to me, I see it in the articulation of. I like the butterfly joints. They're real easy to mess with, and like little things like the elbow here isn't janky looking, right? They made it there so that the sculpt still looks pretty nice. Yeah, and I love it when companies put sliders on the knees so that as you bend it out, the kneecap rotates. Yeah. It's a simple thing that we see more and more of now, but it always just kind of it tickles my fancy. Rest of the stuff is out, works the way you expect. Pretty strong ratchets in here, which is nice. I'm sure you can hear them clacking, which is always satisfying. Yeah, like really, nice strong ratchets in the feet as well. Not much of a tilt. It is there, but it kind of like, I think, yeah, it's ratcheted as well, so it feels like there's not a lot of room in there. So it feels like, oh, you can't get it. It's like, no, if you go, then you'll hit the ratchet, and it'll get in place. But no, like the articulation on it's really nice, especially for big, bulky figures. No waist can be a little bit of a downer. I understand. I got used to it with the Seekers pretty quick. I understand the concession and why it was done. It would have been nice if they figured something out, but as long as it doesn't become a habit, and I don't think it will. I think it's purely for the aesthetic on the planes. So, but maybe a while back Ron asked, well, what are they going to call the knockoff when it comes out in October? Because everything gets knocked off now. Maybe it's like, what will they improve? Maybe that's what it is. They'll figure out a way to engineer a waist swivel. And I'm being sarcastic, by the way. That'd be way too much change, but maybe, I don't know. They'd probably screw something else up, but.
Well, yeah, like you said, it's the solid center cockpit thing for the jet. They're not breaking that up or having it be a faux. Well, I guess.
Yeah, and actually, it's even worse here.
Faux part, but.
It's actually even worse because the backpack would get in the way of it all.
Yeah.
Which again, like this whole piece would have to come off. Which, to be honest, they probably could have made it do that if they wanted, because it's pretty distinct. Like it is hooks on it, and like it has some panels and stuff that kind of expand out to keep stuff in place. But you probably could have made it where you detach with a button or something. But
but to me,
it would be so hard in this.
I mean, I get what you're saying, and they could always try that, but like to me, it's kind of like G1 Ultra Magnus and like the challenge there of not making it a separate robot. It's like, sure, you could make the trailer come off and like parts form it together, but no, that was all. Those are his guts, dude. Like he can't do that. That's his spine, bro. It's not a backpack. That's his hunchback.
I'm always a fan of the all-in-one when they do it.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the fun things with MMC's combiners. They're all-in-one. They don't have extra hands and feet parts that sit in the corner if you put them into robot mode. And it's an engineering challenge. And I listened to an interview with the engineer years back when he was talking about Bruticus, and he's just like, he pitched it to them and they're like, you're not going to be able to. He's like, oh, I can do it. He's like, I want to do it. He's like, we got to do it. We got to do it all in one. And they're like, and he's like, no, we got to do it. And I go, oh, okay. Like he was psyched to do it. It was his idea. It didn't like come down from above to figure it out. He was like, no, he wanted to do it.
So not a big parts former, that guy.
No.
Not a parts former fan at all.
And the thing is, we all totally accept it for combiners. Like we get it. That's hard, and it's like we don't mind that at all. Like parts forming and shell forming, and even faux parts to a certain degree. Like those are all touchy things that people are like that take away from the toy, a Transformer toy, when they exist. But for combiners, we're okay if you got to take the extra parts and throw them in, right? So like if they go that extra mile, and it doesn't overly like hurt the other modes, that's always cool. So the fact that this is attached is cool. It reminds me of Shockwave. When I found out Shockwave,
yeah.
that was just like, what? Where did it go? You take that part off. What do you mean it's integrated? You're a liar, And
you
it was so cool. You can't do that. And it was so cool and awesome that then the Siege toy does it too. That came out years later. Mm-hmm. Which makes you wonder. They did that awesome bit with Shockwave. Why didn't they finish the feet transformation on that thing on the Masterpiece? Like they just gave up at the end. But
I guess I don't remember.
The feet just like hang out in these hollow things when it's in gun mode. They don't like fold up and hide away and make the end of the gun like look like a whole piece. It's just got hollow bits with the feet hanging in there. It's
been so long since I've like messed with all my Shockwaves are offered to the bin right now, so I haven't seen it in many years.
Well, he's right there. You can see it totally, right?
Did you get the toy one, or did you keep the first one?
I got the first one.
Yeah. I know a lot of people didn't like that purple, but I thought it was perfect.
I love the purple. I wish it was painted though. Which, like, that's what was nice about the toy one is it had a lot of paint, but it wasn't the purple I wanted. Which brings me to this guy. There is paint here, and like at the end of the day, it looks how it should look. But given the recent run of prior to both this and Trailmaker, for what it's worth, those things were painted head to toe for years now, top to bottom, baby. These aren't. Now, there's an argument to be made that if you're not sure if something is painted or not, does it matter? You know,
because I'm not. So like, school me here, because I can't.
Like
really
some
tell.
of it, I can tell. Like the arms here, the forearms are definitely plastic. Every bit of the arms is just plastic. But the chest, this could be paint. I'm not sure.
I assumed it was. It looks like it to me, especially like
it has a bit of a matte.
Yeah, around like the little things on his chest where there's like lots of lines. It looks like it
feels like paint.
Yeah,
it looks and feels like paint. His hips, looking, nah. I mean, the red's paint. I don't think the rest is. There
is metal on him too, right? I can't remember where. I think it has to do with. It's like that Masterpiece thing where they're like, it's part of the guts, like the chassis.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a part you're like, why is this metal? It's like, oh, because it's like load bearing almost.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, there's a few parts that are metal.
I think there's something interesting with the plastic they used here, to where maybe some parts are painted, but I think most of it is not painted. Obviously, like, obviously the detail work is painted, and like, but I think a lot of it, it's kind of like the feet. I don't think these feet are painted. They're just made in a plastic that has a nice finish. And so it's almost like the plastic they use mostly throughout it, the plastic has a matte finish on it or in it or something. I don't know shit about how plastic is made. But it reminds me a lot of how a lot of Fans Toy stuff is, in that even if Fans Toy stuff isn't painted, it has some sort of finish, either that or the paint's really robust. But like, if you look at some stuff, you can kind of see like sprue marks or something, when you start really looking, and it's kind of like makes it obvious that, oh, this isn't painted, but this plastic does have a different texture to it. Yeah. So it's, at the end of the day, it ends up looking better than you might think an unpainted figure would, but it still doesn't look as nice as a painted figure would be. But there's, as somebody that loves painted figures, I admit it sucks when they get little chips all over them. Maybe this is a better ground. I don't know. A better middle ground or something. Because at the end of the day, it has all the colors it needs. The plastic has a nice finish to it. And if it's more robust, I don't, what am I really got to bitch about,
Well, one thing I wanted to mention before we were done is, like, I'm just looking at this thing. How many of these are going to yellow in the near future? Like, I'm just looking at this. I've had it standing out for, a month, I guess. And I'm like, is it yellowing? Like, this is something I don't worry about.
Oh my God, you are so paranoid.
I know. I think I very much am. But, like, I don't know. I was looking at something the other day, and it wasn't this toy, but I was like, oh, fuck, that is yellowing bad. And
my shattered glass Starscream yellow.
Some of those have I saw one of those Cyberverse RCs that was like, looks like it was dipped in a vat of nicotine.
The Holiday Prime that just came out, his trailer came out of the factory yellowed for some people, and like they could see like the two halves that come together for the trailer or something, like just how it was manufactured. You can see like one part of the plastic, whatever it is, slight difference in how the ingredients are mixed, that makes it more susceptible to yellowing. Like, it was yellow and the other half wasn't.
Well, this is my theory on that, is that sure there is a bad batch. Like, they've been putting, maybe they've probably been trying cost cutting, and like whatever things are put in place to maybe combat that, they stripped out, not being like, oh, we don't care if this yellows, just it was an unintended consequence.
Yeah.
But these factories are probably lined with old school fluorescent lighting. I don't know how old they are, and they put all these together, these parts on an assembly line. They take them apart and they put them in a bucket or a vat or something, and they're however deep it is, all the parts that are on the top are baking in the fluorescent light for God knows how long before they're put together, and the ones that are at the bottom aren't. So that might be, just a happenstance, random way it's put together can probably be, that probably affects it.
Yeah.
That's what I've been seeing lately, is that a lot of it has to do with the quality of the lighting that it's in most of the time.
Interesting.
Although they still yellow in the dark too, so it's not.
Oh yeah, it's one of those that
vary.
The sun seems to can help speed it along, but it's like, and there's people that found toys in the box in a closet, never opened, that like they put in there and it just got set there in their parents' house, in the attic or something like that, and they open up and they're like, oh, man, this thing turned to butter. Shit happens.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how it be.
When you make stuff, the goal is to sell it. You sell it once as the manufacturer, and
yep.
Everyone's like, Hasbro, you messed it up. Sure, they made a mistake and they'll do their best, but like, they sold it. It's done. Like, they did not. There's no time. There's no I
it's not software where you can release a patch that unfucks it. It's physical goods. It is what it is once it's made.
Yeah.
They may do a reissue with something better, but people bitch about that too.
Right. They're not liable for like yellow plastic over 20 years.
Yeah.
There's.
Talking about your worries, look at your MP Star Saber, which I'm sure is in a great bin somewhere.
Oh, I've never. Yeah, mine is in the great bin. The plastic coffin it came in, like I've never opened it.
Yeah, well, no one knows if it's yellowed then, and they never will. I'm like,
they won't until
it's
they
going to
buy
yellow
it
as much
from
as
me.
those are, right?
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm not too worried about it any more than anything else. And I have a very different outlook on life than a lot of people. It's just like, it doesn't, man. I mean, like, I don't want it to happen. I'm not happy it happens, but it's like, it's still the same toy.
Yeah.
It's all still there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you were on the show with me when I dropped MP Prime and broke his stack, and I was just like, it
Right,
sucks. It's like,
yeah.
I glued it back on. I'll live. Whatever.
It's like you can't. Those major collectors out there, which if any of you are listening, it's like, over the course of your life, you're gonna break some toys. Okay, you're making omelets every day in your collection room. You're gonna break a few eggs someday. So don't sweat the small stuff. Enjoy what you got and like laugh it off. Like,
yeah,
even if you
it sucks.
Dropped your Unicron. Like, well, that's what I get.
Yeah. Guess what? You still have all of the toy.
Right. Yeah. You do.
Still got it all.
I feel like I forgot to show off something that I wanted to, and since this is OOF My Wallet, you can tell me if this is an OOF, and it's related.
All right, lay it on me.
This is the God of Flame Robotech Macross release. This is a special release.
That is G1 Jetfire.
Yeah, this is a new version of this. This is the Valkyrie, if you want to call it that.
I can see my G1 Jetfire here, like almost comparison. It's like, oh, that's fucking it. He's a little more slender there, but like every bit of it's all the paint accents are in the exact same spots. His armor add-on bits and his like pylons in the back that's totally it.
This is, I remember when it didn't dawn on me like how special this release was until like a few days after I saw it, because it was like a special release in Hong Kong, and I always kind of thought like, oh, Jetfire's color scheme is the Rick Hunter Veritech color scheme. If you know Robotech or Macross, it's like a white and red one of these. But it doesn't look exactly like this. It's like a lot whiter. There's not as much black on it, and it dawned on me like, oh, this is definitely this is the reverse of like the history of the toy.
Yeah.
Like they're actually paying homage. They're actually saying like, fuck you, Hasbro. We're gonna make this color scheme on our actual Macross jet, and it was a special release. It says there's only 2,688 pieces of it. And I was able to. I ordered one like right after it came out, or it was revealed, because I knew it was limited edition. I've never received it from this weird ass company in Hong Kong that made it, so I'm gonna probably do a chargeback on them. But I got it through BBTS, just as like a fail safe. And I really want to open it because I want to put it next to.
Do it.
This guy.
Do it, bro.
Well, I will. I just want to make sure if I don't get that one from Hong Kong, I don't want to open. I'll open this one if I don't get that.
Yeah.
So
Do we want to wrap it up on Skyfire then?
Yeah, I think so. Just wanted to let everyone know that thing is out there. If you're a Skyfire fan, don't miss it.
No, that's like it is dead on. That's cool. Yeah. So the transformation again. Well, accessories are awesome. This is my felt. Accessories are awesome. Lots of fun stuff. The transformation is intuitive, but you got to push the chest too hard, and the backpack is a little unintuitive because it is very specific on the steps. And even then, you still got to kind of push to snap it together a little more than you should. Other than that, the transformation is pretty great. And even then, like, there's no like fiddly bits with it. It's all pretty big movements, which is nice. Articulation is awesome on it, and they're trying something different with paint here, with paint and plastic finish. And he looks really nice, but it's different. And you know, I'm still internally debating it. But I don't know. At the end of the day, it's still nice. It's still good. Like, we know this is painted here, and this texture seems the same as like what's on his chest and what's on his hips. But then like other parts I look at it, it's like, oh man, that really looks like plastic there. So I don't know. Whatever they're doing, it's interesting, and it makes it look nice. So if anybody for some reason is on the fence, this is a great toy, and it's a even if Star Saber was bigger, this is a much more involved release. Like, the Star Saber's transformation is really straightforward and really plain. Like, this is not a complex transformation, but it still has a lot more going on than that. So it's a big release, both, you know, literally and kind of, you know, figuratively, like, for the line.
Yeah, I can agree with most of that. I have a feeling that it's more. I have a gut feeling that it's painted more than you think it is, but I also don't know.
It's so hard to tell.
It is.
It's weird.
I don't think it really matters, honestly.
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm wondering about myself.
My only gripe is it came with a lot of good accessories, a lot of good ones, but
if you say some dumb Starscream shit, I swear to God.
I wish it came with two of those green shard swords of the energy crystal in that episode that Megatron and Optimus have a sword fight with, and it's awesome. It's like one of the better G1 fights between the two. It only lasts like a few seconds, but I always wanted. You got these. Megatron puts his hand on the crystal and like rips off this giant broadsword shaped thing. It's like a very specific shape, and it's a cool green color. I would have loved to see those purely as accessories for MP44 and MP36 to like have them do that thing, because this is the release I would have expected it to come with.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of out there because it's like not for Skyfire and be for those other. That's the only thing that I would like to have seen that I didn't get. I love Skyfire. He's one of the characters I collect. Specifically Skyfire. I've always been like kind of annoyed that Jetfire is the more prevalent name.
Now you got two.
Well, I love that he's coming back, and like it started with the reaction toy. The little 3-inch reaction toy. I was like, holy shit, they called him Skyfire, and he like looked, you know, just like him. I've always loved the design. I love the history of the character and like the turmoil that brought that design to life in the brand, which is, for some people they don't care, but I love that history stuff because I lived it. I love to get the answers to like my weird burning questions as a child, you know, of why those things happen. So this was a must-have release for me. I am actually kind of, and I know, again, I think it's because of most of like the fact that there was a Phoenix for so many years before this, and it was it was very sought after. Everyone's like, "This is the best Jetfire ever!"
I almost slept on this. So like when it was announced, I barely looked at it because I was like, "I got Phoenix. Phoenix is awesome." And then I was talking to Peter, and Peter's like, "He's like, but this one is Sunbow." I was like, "What?" He's like, and then I took a second look at it. I'm like, "Oh man, it actually does have quite a different aesthetic at the end of the day." And then I was like, "All right, I'm gonna get it."
And it was rumored, not rumored, but like it was almost like one of those things where Takara's like, "Oh yeah, we're Jetfire. We've been thinking about it." You know, like we saw
like some image of a prototype of him years back, and even at that point, it was indicated that that was like an old prototype, you know, and it looked kind of jank, but it was this. It was this, and they were just doing his derpy shoulders and chest. You know, that's the way his character is, and obviously they refined it more and more. But no, it was this. They have been working on it a while. This pair really just kind of came out of nowhere to me.
Yeah, and you know, like the third party, they have an insider edge on what's coming out. They know that, and they try to beat official to market, and they're good at it because they're nimble. They can do that stuff. It's pretty impressive. But I think it did hurt the fanfare around this release, and that might be why Takara's like, yeah, we're gonna make this a limited exclusive. I'm like, I don't know why you would spend all that money on this, and then like nerf it in that way. But I guess the point I'm trying to get at is I feel like a lot of people had the same mentality as you. You know, like, yeah, you know, been there, done that. Doesn't feel as special because like the hype was already lived for most people a few years ago, and that's
they were able to check the box in their collection.
In their, you know, their mental disorder brain. That's the way it works. And then you get.
Now I'm really glad Peter brought that up, and I took a second look at it because it's really awesome.
Well, I think a lot of people are easily dismiss this, and like you said, once the reviewers get it, they're like, "Wait a minute! Oh my God, this is good! Like Takara's back!" or something like that. And this was a limited release. There were not many of these, and like, I think this is going to be a sleeper. This is going to be a dark horse release.
I'm going to take devil's advocate on that, and there's two reasons. One is because there's a fuck ton of Phoenix out there, right? Yes. Like this is. I think this checks the box better in pretty much every way. You know, if you want the accurate stuff, it's just a great release. But I think that is going to temper that. And then also, like, look at the cone heads. Those were all limited mall releases. Fucking plummeted in price. Like I paid I think it was like what 200, $225 each or something like that from Big Bad to get those things, and they're like $70 each at the top end now, you know. So like I don't know which way it'll go, but I don't think it's as sure of a thing because of all those factors. And I don't even know why the Coneheads sunk that low. I don't know. Was everybody buying the eye gear ones? I never bought the eye gear ones.
Well, there was some of that. It's an old mold. It's but
there were no alternatives other than eye gear, and eye gear had issues. So.
Well, there were also production issues with this.
The shoulders were fucked up. Yeah.
Every release is its own story. Nothing is ever like.
Yeah.
Every time you think like, oh, this happened, so this is going to happen again. Like, if you're a Batman, you will lose. I promise you. Sooner or later, you will. I think they didn't make many of these, like in the grand scheme of things, compared to other releases. And like I said, it was one of the main methods of sale for this was not there.
Yeah.
And which also brings down the production run. And I think by the time everyone comes around on this, it'll be too late. Like his price will be in the Skyfire, you know. So be careful.
Unless they reissue it. Takara's reissue stuff.
They didn't reissue MP44, which kind of shocks me. Like that hasn't happened.
I haven't looked at it. Does it? Maybe it doesn't retain its value because it has a lot of third-party competition too. A lot of people didn't want to pay $400, and so they were like, you know what? I'm fine just getting the core robot.
Sure, but you know what they pay now?
What?
A lot.
Yeah.
Get that thing sealed. It's a mighty piece of meat. I guess all I'm trying to say is like if you want this, like I think 200.
There's no reason to not get it.
Between 200 and if you can get it for like under 250, which I think you can right now, I would do it. I mean, even Phoenix has at some point that was like a $600 toy, wasn't it?
I don't know what it topped out at. It got expensive, but again, then they reissued it and they did slight variation releases and stuff. Yeah, and it's like $250 now.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong. I guess it's a good value for what it is as a Transformer. Like,
given prices today,
$300, this is awesome.
Yeah, this is and I don't know if there's die-cast parts in here somewhere or not, but he is chunky. You know, it's not like he's a paperweight. You know, he's a rock weight. You know, I'm
He's
sure
the
he doesn't
Rock
weigh as
Lord.
much. I'm sure he doesn't weigh as much as Phoenix does, or whatever. I'm not breaking out the scale. That's fucking stupid. But like, he's a solid, notable bit. You know, like it's don't think he's not.
Yeah, it's definitely it's probably around 2 pounds. Would be my guess, maybe a little less. I don't think heavy means better by any means,
Exactly.
so I don't know why I'm even mentioning it. But cool.
Well, can we briefly talk about Trailbreaker?
Sure. I didn't open mine, so like it's all you.
Yeah. What's interesting about Trailbreaker to me is how I compare it with that one. It has a lot of the same stuff. Tons of good accessories. Again, you know, all-in-one transformation with his bits here. They all, you don't take them apart and clip them back on. They are all built into it.
Oh.
You know, even this little hand, you know, it collapses and you spin it in or whatever. The hands are pretty fun. The arms are. Wait, was it that? Ah, I put too much force on it and his hand went flying because you can switch them out. Nothing is broken here. It's just one of those because it was on camera and I don't know, it went behind my speakers or something. I'll get it later. But again, like Jetfire, tons of articulation. You know, shoulder joints, butterfly joints. He does have a waist. You know, full knees with the sculpt in place. You know, the sculpt isn't destroyed by the elbow either, although they didn't really do anything special for it. It just isn't. You know, big feet. I don't know. It's just all kinds of great articulation. Has an ab crunch even. So like, yeah, articulation, great. Postability, great. Accessories, great. The aesthetic, I think it's great. And the transformation ain't bad as well. You know, like it's, at least for my taste, I don't find it complex. It was very intuitive again. But I also love like MP Hound. And some people really hate MP Hound, like quality issues on that figure aside. Like I thought its engineering was really cool, the way they got everything into the feet. Like that was crazy. But I don't know. I felt this went. It was a little weird, you know, because again, I'm figuring out myself. Like, it's obvious how all this comes together, but getting it in place took a little bit. But yeah, it's so similar in pros and cons because it also has a lot less paint. You know, which again, like, it really stands out compared to their recent or their last few Carbot releases. You know, where like again, Hound's painted all over. But like the hood here is not. This isn't painted. I don't think. But like the gray here, there's a fleck. There's like a speckle in that. It's kind of shiny. Like it has some sort of. The plastic is made a different way so that it has a better finish to it. But it does really stand out to me. Like pretty much all the dark gray in here is not painted, if not all of it. And that does stand out to me on this release more than it does on like Jetfire. I believe the red stuff is painted though. It's either red or just really shiny red plastic. I don't know. And then again, the gray all has that speckle on there. So it's just, it feels like they're switching. They're taking a focus off on as much paint. Like I feel like it's evident looking at both his releases, but they're like, keep with the accessories, keep with Sunbow, keep with as much articulation as we can fit in, and they're just backing off the paint.
Does it feel like maybe they've gone full reversal on the, like they don't want to do plus releases anymore, and they're just like, let's just release the plus one as the regular one first, and then in the end the plus one will become the toy deco. You know, like it'll just flip flop back and forth forever.
Well, I don't think that was ever consistent. I think if you look at it, the very early one, sometimes plus meant the toy one, sometimes it meant the anime one. It just depends on what came out first.
Sometimes it meant Thundercracker. Right?
Like, how is Thundercracker not his own number, you know, for the original? Well, is this one his own number finally? Are these...
No, it's MP52, MP52 Plus, and then MP52 Plus SW or something.
It's so dumb.
It's just maddening. It's just... Come on, guys.
No, these aren't repaints, bud. Yeah. You know, and that is talking about the mall thing, too. Like, I would have expected this to be a main release, but, like, the shattered glass version or something to be, like, a mall release. Because, like, there's a lot less interest for that, especially in big figures. So, yeah, that's
Well,
We've
okay.
definitely seen a lot less of the plus, and I mean, they've been putting out a lot less Masterpiece stuff, period, the past several years.
Yeah.
And that includes like random weird repaints. Like they still happen, but it's just at a much less frequency.
Well, I just remember the last time you were like, "Is Masterpiece dead?" And then we got just like onslaughted, like like literally days after you said it. And I was like, "Thank you, Rob." So if you ever want to say that again,
You're welcome.
I mean,
This was a big gap in G1 stuff here again. You know, and it used to be they were pretty consistent, like one Beast Wars figure a year, new mold a year at least, and then like 2 to 4 G1 stuff, and then we had like years where nothing came out, and we didn't even hear about anything, and then it's like, oh hey, we're dropping 2 and they're coming out in 4 months.
Well,
you know,
I don't know. I think that I have a feeling the MPG thing did not work out well monetarily for them. I just have a feeling.
is that because the figure looks like complete ass?
I mean, I mean, again.
But you know, that's how I feel about it. That doesn't tell me shit about the numbers. Like,
yeah, I guess
someone that sells Transformers could have some sales volume. Go like, hey, I sold this many Skyfires and Trailbreakers and previous releases. MPG sold this many. Or the first one I sold, I sold 50 of them, but the second one I only sold 25. The third I sold 15. It's like, oh, that's bad. It's Combiner, and they're not keeping up with it. Like that is.
I think it's just so hard to tell. It's the first time there's been a Masterpiece Combiner like that isn't a third-party toy, and that entire how many Transformers fans are not into Combiners? You know what I mean? Like,
if they say they're not real Transformers fans.
Yeah, exactly.
I will gatekeep the fuck out of you.
So, everyone that is really into that has already been buying them for a long time. So, like, Takara's like probably like, we're doing a Masterpiece Combiner. Everyone's like,
I mean, I was really excited with the announcement, but like, even the initial announcement, people were like, well, what does this really mean? Because it was kind of vague.
And then COVID hit, and we didn't know for 2 years. So that didn't.
And then when it finally did come out, I don't even consider it Masterpiece. They put that MPG in there, and so that I don't know if they consider it a subline or just its own line or whatever. But like, the scale's not there, and the aesthetic is way not there. I've heard they're fun, like that the engineering on them is good, but it looks like a train wreck. I can't.
Raiden translated into
Raiden
English as train wreck would be a good TF wiki like burn.
It's one of those. Anytime this comes up, I'm really harsh on it really quickly, and it's just because that's how disappointed I am. I was so excited for that, and then I saw it, and I'm just like, who approved this?
Yeah.
And I get it. Trains are huge in Japan, and they want a really accurate alt mode or whatever. That's still no excuse for that combined mode, man. Like, fuck off. It just isn't.
Well, it looks...
I got Moon Studios. I'm good, but I would have rather had a Takara take on it. That was like more like this, like Trailbreaker, more like Skyfire. That went with that, and they figured out because Trailbreaker does not have die cast in them, and if he does, it's so slight. I didn't feel any, and he does feel pretty light. But he's so, I don't know, he is so solid. It almost makes me get over the fact there's no paint on him, or very little. But
let's go back to Trailbreaker for a second, because
his plus version. What's the plus release of this?
I don't know.
Hoist.
Oh,
duh, idiot.
It'd probably be a Diachron release at this point or something. Well, this doesn't happen often, but when that actually was coming out, I was taking a second look at it, and there was all the weirdos that how to use MS Paint put all these like bad comparisons up, and I was like, man, some of these other toys that I'm not super familiar with, they look really good. Like they look.
They
better.
are.
It just and Trailbreaker looks like a weird stylized version almost compared to some of them, especially with how like. The truck kind of like folds up and like collapses in a weird clamshell way. It's not like the cars that I'm more used to, where the chest, like Sideswipe, where like it's just a flat chest. Trailbreaker it's kind of like puffy in a way,
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's kind of
He's always
right.
He has a beer belly. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of his design. It's like, here he is next to X Transbots. And, my camera is fucking ancient and it's shit, or whatever. But, like, especially in hand, this is much more substantial because everything is either painted or has it's either painted or, I'm not saying I don't know which, but it's all either paint or it's a very nice finish on the plastic, it's not just, plain plastic. So this like has a premium look and feel to it, the X Transbots does. Whereas this doesn't, but it's such a well done toy, nonetheless. And at the end of the day, especially side by side, the aesthetic of the official is much better. But there's a more of a, I hate to use this word because Bobby Skullface uses it all the time and I just feel like I'm copying him, but like the presence of this is much more notable, especially in hand. But at the end of the day, this more accurately matches it. But this is a great toy. I love this toy. I bought this toy twice because I bought the original release and then they did a more cartoon colored release and I bought it again. And the same for Hoist because they came out together. But yeah, like and then of course the Fan Toys one came out recently and a lot of people love it because it's typical Fan Toy stuff, but none of them nail the look the way Takara does. At the end of the day, like this really nails the look, and that's what sold me on it. And it just so happens to be a great piece of engineering as well.
So you are really down with the official Traybreaker toy.
Yeah, like, I mean, for what it's worth, I'm a Takara fan. A lot of people, especially in the MP stuff where we buy tons of third party, they like to shit on Takara. I think they get some of the best engineering other than whatever the hell that MPG line is. The only thing they've done that I did not like was RC, and I got rid of it, and I went back to Fans Toys Rouge. And the engineering on that toy is a nightmare, but it also does insane things. It doesn't have a bunch of kibble. It just has her shoulder pylons. It all folds up into there, or other places. Like it's insane what they did. Whereas Takara just said, well, let's put this big, huge backpack and let's break her spine to get her to do it. And let's give her like shapely legs like a woman instead of, the way she was in the cartoon, which she's a robot. And then of course the whole chest thing. And it was just,
yeah, the chest,
I got
the chest was,
well, I did
tough.
keep it. It has no aftermarket value. I put it into car mode and kept it because the car mode looks really nice. That's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always some missteps. I was really disappointed in the just in that chest because it just was wrong. I'm not saying how to fix it, but like it seemed it should have been fixable.
It was. People made little parts and stuff to do it. Like it obviously was, and it's one of those. I hate art talking about being an old man talking about a female toy and the boobs being bad. It makes me feel like a pervert. But it's like I play video games and they've gotten more females involved in the design of video games, trying to make it less of a sausage fest in the video game industry. And guess what? Women are typically a little more covered up now and they can't, pleasure themselves to every female that's on there. And internet rages about it. And then it's like, you're so stupid. They're like, oh, they did this woke blah blah blah. It's like, shut up. That's not what's going on. It's just different people designed it, and that's what they enjoyed.
It's like it was like a design flaw.
That was like this isn't that. This isn't saying, why isn't she shaped? It's just like, no, it looks weird. You look at it and it jumps out at you because it's off. It's not, oh, I wish your boobs were bigger. It's like, no, it just looks weird. They did it wrong.
Well, also, and there were some, like her thigh area is like egregious. It's like you didn't have to do that, guys. Like I know it's
exactly
I know that's what you do, but come on.
Well, again, that's why I went back to Rouge. Rouge actually looks more like RC, who was a robot.
You know what? You know what? I think TFYLP is. It's almost time to do. We need to do like a rundown of the best MP figure, like best and worst MP figures. As a special.
You know me, man.
Aside.
Well, you already know what my worst is. That aside, sign me up to talk about Masterpiece anytime.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna take
and And it says, I'll say it for you. If RC is supposed to have breasts, they are in the wrong place. It's like,
true.
yep, it's really obvious.
It's just...
Sad
It'd be
face.
like having a giraffe neck on a toy for no reason. You'd be like, that's wrong. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Let's take one last look at
At our big boy.
You know, part of me wants to put that Decepticon logo on him.
Well, you just got to buy a second one.
Do you remember back? I know you're a crusty old dude like me. Do you remember when some dude was selling ways to make your G1 Jetfire into Decepticon Jetfire, but like you painted all the red parts purple? Do you remember seeing those
No,
on the internet
that went past me.
Oh yeah, I mean you can still find them out there. It's called Decepticon Jetfire, and it's the G1 toy, but all the red bits are purple. And
Gross.
It always kind of annoyed me, but like I think people loved it, you know, like because really it should have just been the regular Jetfire toy with the symbol change, you know, just a sticker.
There was it doesn't happen anymore that I know of, but there was an era there like when third party was kind of getting going, like, you know, because back in the day they did. You might need to cover your ears for a second, but they did chug stuff, you know, before it was all Masterpiece. Before Hasbro said, "Hey, we should own this area," and then they started owning it. But like, there was a lot of add-on kits came out at that time too, and we had a large run of G1 add-on kits to like improve your G1 toys. The only stuff I have is the company was called Devi Toys. The first thing they did was upgrades to your G1 Devastator.
Yeah, that was cool. I remember that. I never got it, but I was like, "Ooh, I want that so bad."
Yeah, I have it. It's a little janky. But also that toy is fucking janky to begin with. I love Devastator, but like that toy is not a good combiner. It's just not. But I know for a while there, it wasn't cheap to buy the parts to begin with, and then like doubled or tripled on the aftermarket. And I was like, I should strip that down and sell it, but that was a long time ago. I'm just too lazy for it. But they ended up doing, you know, like Predaking and some other stuff as well. But there was more of that stuff was going around at the times, and I wonder if that's when Make Jetfire into Decepticon, you know, came out.
I'm talking like 1999.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, like
okay.
Just after the show, I'm gonna see if I can find one for you. See how easy it is to find. Because there was someone that like did one, took pictures, and then like it spread across the internet as much as it could back then. You know, like on Prodigy and AOL. But I've seen many like copies of it.
Oh, I see it. I immediately found it.
Yeah, and it's like that's a classic like it's essentially custom, but it like became duplicated, and then someone like merchandised it in a way. I'm not sure how they would have done that, but
well, it's hard to tell what's a custom or if this is like made or whatever. There's a lot of people that have done something like this. Yeah. But
I just remember there was like a whole website for it. Anyways, this is like ancient crusty history that no one needs to hear about. My recommendation, like I already said, I think you should get this toy. If you're on the fence, you should definitely get it. If you are happy with your Phoenix, be happy with your Phoenix. Be happy with your Siege, Jetfire. But if you're a Masterpiece collector, I think you're really silly if you skip this release. You know, this is not a Car Brother that you can get multiple ways. This is probably going to be a one and done.
Yeah, like the only person that would pass this and be happy is they're like, I like Masterpiece toys, but I don't like the pure Sunbow aesthetic. I like the more adult take on it, or whatever. Like, you're playing with toys, shut up. But if that's the aesthetic you prefer, then stay with Phoenix. But that's really it. If that's the only reason you would necessarily keep that, or unless you're just lazy. And you're like, I don't feel like shuffling out my old one and getting a new one or whatever. But this toy's awesome. If it's in your budget, you should buy it.
This goes with the new Starscream, the new Optimus, the new Bumblebee. I guess the new Trailbreaker, would count there too. So, and maybe maybe we'll get precursor to this guy. Maybe we'll get a Jazz, MP Jazz before anything else.
Fans Toys Jazz did come out a couple months back, so
he coming,
right?
Which I have heard that toy is quite good.
Looks good. People really hate the transformation. I thought it was pretty clever. You know, like it wasn't like it is a more fiddly style, but I still found it pretty intuitive, and there was some pretty neat stuff it does. You know, that the reason why I ended up replacing my MMC. The MMC one has some visual, you know, lesser good things on it because they didn't want to overcomplicate the engineering for it, and so we said, "Fuck that." You know,
well, let's make it complicated.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I like the transformation on it, but you know, it's definitely like I need to have some time to sit down with it. You know, it's not a fiddle bot by any means. Yeah.
Well, I think we should probably close this down. I know really, you know, we kind of fooled you. It's not really Oof My Wallet tonight. It's more of a Paul and Rob Masterpiece special, but
you put that in the title. The title.
Yeah,
man.
Oof My Wallet. You know, we just no one has time for that. No, come on, ain't no one got time for it. Want to thank all the people out there. Zaldron, Switcraft coming in from outer space. Peacemo. Lucas Bachman, pour one out for him. Our would-be guest that wasn't able to make it. Catherine. Bruman, I think that's you. And Anna.
It's me. Yeah.
It's you. And myself. I think I also said something. So, and Ron. Thanks, Ron. If you want more of this awesome type of content, you know, like, subscribe, Hulk smash that like button, like a good Skyfire would. Change, you know, smash it so hard you turn from a Decepticon into an Autobot, and let us know you enjoyed it. Maybe we'll do this more often. Usually the regular TFYLP shows are on Monday nights, pretty religiously. And there's that book club thing on Sundays if you're into Discord. I think it's bit.ly/TFYLP Discord. I'm probably wrong about that, but please check us out there. Lots of good talk about upcoming products, deals, and I'll berate you while you're on there if you don't post something cool. That's what I do. So we talked for about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours about
almost
Skyfire. You know, he deserves it. That's why we did this. We needed to let the world know that he rules. So you heard it here first.
I hope it sells well, and that way they're not afraid to do larger figures, if that's what the character needs.
Yeah, if we're gonna do another combiner, let's cut the G out of that and make it a real MP.
Make it real, for the love of God.
Please, God, if you're out there.
Please, Primus, for the love of Primus.
I mean, honestly, this is the kind of figure that I like to speak some hyperbole and say, there is a God. This is proof. I think I said that when they announced MP Laser Wave 2. I was like, what? No way. All right, well, we're going to close you out. Thanks, Rob, for being here, and thanks for listening. See you next time.
Good night.